You know, as an example of handling problems, you know, I mentioned this article, you know, that I write. Just Patrick Hedemark asked me, who determines the value of money or property in our mathematically perfected economy? He's a very intelligent guy. You know, he was kind of teetering on, you know, on a precipice, leaning toward the idea that, you know, I must be advocating that the system had to do that somehow, you know. And, you know, he was surprised to get my answer because I covered all the bases that you determine the value of money or property, and how mathematically perfected economy simply sustains whatever decision you make. Now, is that perfect? No, likewise, but that's your decision and a right you have to have. However imperfectly, you will execute it. There is no such thing as a free market subject to interest. There's no such thing as a free market that says this is the value that things have to be, or that's the value that these things have to be. No way. You can't have a free market if people are going to dictate such things, or if you have to control them. But mathematically perfected economy perfectly accounts for and sustains anything you determine. If you want to pay $500,000 for a $25,000 house, you can be financed to do that, and you will pay for it as you consume of it, which is the justice that you agreed was justice from the moment you agreed to that. Now, in the interest in preserving the integrity of the currency to all of us, if that lifespan of that thing was going to be beyond your life, you know, or there was something else unreasonable about it, we might want to prevent that, you know. But mathematically perfected economy will sustain it if it's desirable to you, you know. The only problems are the imperfections of man. A person can abuse a system, you know. A person can abuse any system. You don't ask the system to be unabusable. You ask man to be, hey, why abuse our system? You know, yeah, you could buy a brand new house and you could spray paint graffiti all over it the next day. You know, sure you can. You know, is mathematically perfected economy about preventing you from doing that? Absolutely not. You know, that's a crime that you have to prevent because it's destroying the integrity of the value of the property, which is part of this arrangement that this person has agreed to when they issue a promissory obligation to pay for it. You see? Now, is the creditor offended? No, they were paid in full, you know. But we would be if this damaged home isn't paid for. And we have to make sure that that happens. And when this person wants to sell it, it has to be of the value that we've assumed it should be by the rates of depreciation that we have decided upon for our particular implementation of it, which is to accommodate our own inconsistencies or subjectivity or whatever, you see. But mathematically perfected economy is the principles. It's the only sustainable monetary system that's possible. Now, I meant to cover, more on how we do solution. I'm going to have to move that to another show. There's going to have to be 5 basic shows. But again, for those who might be listening for the first time, the way that this first set of programs at least are designed is that to have the background to understand, that the entire introduction to mathematically perfected economy, they're really designed to begin from the first program. How we are going to implement this, you see, we have a problem. And I'm going to have to cover this on the next show. That's just all. It's too late. This transformation is one that the people are going to have to execute. And the reason is we have all these scam artists in government who are immediately, likewise, going to want to put their hands on it to change it. In Iceland, we've got people who haven't accomplished anything toward solution. Even though solution has been explained to them, they're asking for debate on solution now. I'm tired of debating. I'm tired of explaining myself over and over and over again. And I can only tell you what I would do as a person in Iceland. And that is that I would spread solution among the people, and I would let them decide. You know, I wouldn't leave this to some economist to be cut off, you know, who couldn't even invalidate the fact of a singular solution to inflation and deflation. And yet nothing is happening, and we're asking for debate on solutions. Again, we've already had the debate, you know. Where's the opportunity for fault, insufficiency, something that wasn't covered? Where is it? You know, ask that question, you know. Ask for debate. What's that mean? You reject this? Oh, yes, there are many solutions, many great solutions. Shit, every day there's 1,000 more of them, you know. Evaluate every one and you'll never get to the end of this. And 40 years ago, there was proof of a singular solution. And all these people are mere copycats and imposters, you know. And they're dividing us and dividing us and dividing us and dividing us again, you know. And we have to decide that no more of this. Now, that's not going to happen in government. That's only going to happen at the level of the people. And I've explained this basic concept. And maybe it's good that I don't read or speak on, you know, the details of solution until our site's up. And I need to explain why our site isn't up. But the solution is first you sign a mandate, a global mandate. There is a mandate for each country. You sign this mandate on our online presence, which isn't up yet. And you become a person for mathematically perfected economy. And just like the founders of this country asserted their rights in the Declaration of Independence, you are asserting your rights as an individual in this mandate for mathematically perfected economy and absolute consensual representation. This mandate dictates the structure of law, what it has to be subjected to, how often it has to be affirmed by the public. You understand, if we just had public affirmation, there would never have been a Federal Reserve Act. The Democrats promised not to do this and did it anyway, like they're doing it right now. Change you can believe in, my butt. You know, I won't tax the middle class, my butt. You know, this is just lie after lie after lie. You're voting for lies unless you have absolute consensual representation. That means absolutely holding this guy accountable. One guy points out he's not doing what he says, bingo, he's gone. You know, and not only that, the crime for doing so is treason. You have to banish yourself from office, or you are guilty of treason. Do things have to be this extreme? What's extreme about that? You're just asking, you're telling government that they have to have integrity, the only integrity that can serve you. We can't be lied to. We can't be deceived. We can't be betrayed year after year after year. Administration, term after term after term. We have to say, end of this. Those people are not going to do this, you know. And if some group in between those people and us who's looking for a solution aren't going to do that, sorry. They're light years behind. They're not covering all the bases because we absolutely have to define these things to be the crimes they are in order to enforce them upon the courts, the sheriffs, the district attorneys. We have to have these people on our side. And we have to make sure that to be against us is to pay a penalty which is sufficiently severe that they don't dare do so. We're not just, this mandate just doesn't make these things just treason. It makes each person personally accountable for the damages they inflict. If a judge enforces a foreclosure on a person who's challenged it and is holding their property with payment made in a like way by issuing an irredeemable promise to pay to challenge the constitutionality and rectitude of the currency in court, if that judge decides against them, our mandate holds him accountable to pay the damages to that person out of his own possession. If a jury decides this, that jury is accountable to pay those damages out of their own possession. And so on, and so on, and so on. This is a product of 40 years of engineering to make this thing happen, to give us all the clout that can be had, and to do this on the only level it's ever going to be accomplished by. And that isn't by winning Ellen Hodge and Brown over. It isn't by winning over this group that's between the people of Iceland and mathematically perfected economy right now. It's directly connecting the people with the only solution which will serve them. And God bless these people if they decide, I heard his program, he's right, he must be right. I can't say that he's wrong, at least. We do need to call him, and we do need to talk about these things, and we do need to find out what the solution is. God bless them if they do that. But the phone's not ringing, pal. And what does that mean? That means that unless we take matters into our own hands, we're not going to get this. Are they going to do Ellen Hodge and Brown or G. Edward Griffin or Dove of Oneness? Which solution? Which solution is it going to be? So, anyone who wants to call me on this can Skype me at PFMPE 2012. And next week, I guess we'll have to discuss solution. We'll stick to solution next week. No matter how many plagiarists spring up out of the woodwork, in the meanwhile. So I, want to get across the point that we have to unite. Now, this isn't, to throw 20 preposterous pretended solutions out there out of 20,000 or 2 million or whatever it is now. The number is rising every day. It's as if everybody, laid a golden egg and, they all understand what was, it's always been obvious. And now, they're all authors of solution and they differ and they're not accounting for things and they don't even have any math, they haven't done any math, So we're never going to unite if that's the case. There will be nothing but disagreement. Whatever is done, if anything, will injure people. Mathematically perfected economy is eradication of injury through the monetary system. So when we understand that, we have nothing left that we can do except we're writing our own law. The Constitution of the United States leaves this final power to the people. And I've exercised it in a constitutional amendment which accomplishes all these purposes. Now, if we don't do this, we suffer the consequences. But the reason I told this story the other night about Geronimo is that, without even a signal, all of a sudden, all of these whimpering miners were shot, and the one brave one stood there, unscathed. And Geronimo stared him down, as I said, and he says, "You are a fool, but at least you are brave." Well, the reason that such an event transpired is because there was agreement, such